Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. Today's video is the second part of a two-part series that is the Black History Month edition of if you liked this popular book, try reading this book. You've probably seen other people do this. If you like this book, try this book. And for Black History Month, I want to tell you books that you should try based on popular books by Black authors. I'm going to reiterate what I said in the first part of this series, and if you missed video number 1, I will link it up above because I've got some great recommendations there for you. But if you know me and you follow my channel, you know that diversity in my reading is really important to me. It's something that I prioritize all year long, and I want to do whatever I can to encourage other people to take on that practice as well. So what I have for you today is a variety of types of books for different ages, different genres, because no matter what you like to read, I promise there are some fantastic books out there that you are going to love by Black authors. So let's go ahead and dive in, and hopefully you'll find something new to try. First up, if you liked The Secret History by Donna Tartt, you should try Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. These are both different takes on dark academia. This one is a light gothic horror. They're both kind of slow-paced and weird with unlikable characters that have interesting endings. So I think if you like this, you have a pretty good shot of liking this as well. Personally, I'm a fan of both. Next up, if you liked A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, I'm gonna recommend you try The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. I know that Game of Thrones comparisons get thrown around a lot here, and so I wanted to be careful with what I picked, but I genuinely feel like this is a really good pick. If what you like about Game of Thrones is that it's got a bit of magic to it, it's dark, it's got a multi-POV story, it's got lots of political things going on, you're probably gonna enjoy Killing Moon. This book has a lot more magic to it than A Game of Thrones does, but I really think if you like that, you're probably gonna like this as well. The next one is a little bit of a wild card, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. If you liked Ready Player One, you might wanna try Slay by Brittany Morris. This is YA and it's more contemporary. Only parts of the book take place in a virtual reality world, but it's got some similarities. It follows a Black teen girl who has coded this virtual reality video game all about Black culture and only for Black players. But when somebody who plays the game dies and they get on the news, they start to get some backlash for it, and she's having to deal with it. I really like this a lot, and I thought especially the in-game parts of it were very cool. I loved the way that this used virtual reality. So if you liked Ready Player One, maybe give this one a try. If you liked Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, you should try Raybearer by Jordan E. Fueco. And here is why. They both feature a fish out of water girl going to court for the first time who is more than she seems. They both have romance plot arcs and political twists and turns and magic. So I think if you liked Throne of Glass, you would probably also really love Raybearer. And this is one where it doesn't necessarily go both ways. I wouldn't say that if you loved Raybearer, you're necessarily gonna love Throne of Glass, but I do think that for people who really love this and especially love those elements of this book, you're gonna be a big fan of this. It's so good. And it's a finished duology. There's only 2 books and they're done, so you can read them both. They're fantastic. Next up, if you liked A Cruel Prince by Holly Black, I think you should try A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. And here's why. Both of these books draw on mythology, although in this case it's African mythology, and they both have a dangerous romance plot with people who hate each other and love each other and maybe want to kill each other or need to for various reasons, which is interesting. In this book, there is a boy and a princess who are falling for each other, but also are both supposed to kill the other person for reasons. So I feel like if you're into Cruel Prince, you'd probably also be into this. If you liked Cinder by Marissa Meyer, then you should try reading The Kindred by Alicia Dow. Both of these have strong romance plots. They both have like sci-fi spacey vibes to them, but are really more centered on the romance and on the characters. And part of The Kindred does take place on Earth. It's got 2 people from an alien planet who have a romance and they've had their minds connected since childhood, and there's a lot of like political machinations and danger. So I really think if you're into Cinder and the Lunar Chronicles, you would probably also be very into The Kindred. I've got one more kind of dystopian type book, and then we're gonna do a bunch of romance recommendations. So for my romance readers out there, I've got some suggestions. But first, if you liked The Road by Cormac McCarthy, you should try The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. Both of these have kind of a dystopian feel to them. They both involve traveling and deal with some dark topics and are just beautifully written. So if you like this kind of dystopian literary vibe, I really think you should try The Underground Railroad. It's incredible. Now let's do some romances. Although one of them I would argue is like less of a romance, but we're still gonna count it. If you liked Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, then you should try reading American Fairy Tale by Adriana Herrera. These actually just got new covers also, so maybe I'll put a picture up here. They're getting a larger paperback size to them, which is exciting. The whole series is great. But both of these have a gay kind of frenemies to lovers romance, sort of. The setup in American Fairy Tale is definitely different, but I feel like if you liked this, you should definitely try this book. It's fantastic. Adriana Herrera writes incredible socially conscious romances that are also quite steamy. So I'm gonna say this book is much steamier than this book. So be prepared for that. But I think if you liked Red, White, and Royal Blue, you should give this book a chance. All right, next is my recommendation where the original book, I would argue, is not completely a romance, but the book I suggest along with it is, and I think it's better, but y'all can argue with me. I know a lot of people really love this, but if you liked It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, you should try How to Stay by Christina Mitchell. Both of these are more hard-hitting books that deal with characters who have gone through abuse. However, in this case, it is this beautiful romance between two broken people finding love and healing together, and you don't get all of the abuse on page. So it does a good job of unpacking that trauma and the healing from that trauma and how it affects relationships. It's just so freaking good. But I really think if you like this kind of story, you definitely need to try this book. Next, let's do some fantasy romance, shall we? If you liked A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, you should try A Song of Blood and Stone by Elle Penelope. I will say this one takes a little bit more to get into, and it has a lot more fantasy world building in it than A Court of Thorns and Roses does. But I feel like if you like that, you should try this series. And book one, I think, is still pretty good, but book two is where the series just starts to shine and really takes off. The romance in book two is fantastic, as are the sort of political background things. It's got this expansive world, there's mythology, there's magic, there's like strong romance plots in all of them, and the series is complete. There are 4 books and some novella short story collection things. So if you liked this, try this. My final recommendation is going to be based on one of the most popular romances of 2021. If you liked The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, you should try A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. They both feature women in STEM who are dealing with difficult things, and they both have steamy romances. In this one, we have a Black woman who is working on her PhD in the sciences. When she starts getting these emails that she thinks are spam, telling her that she is the long-lost child fiance of a African prince, except it turns out they're not fake. And he comes to New York in disguise to find her, and they end up falling in love. It's great. So if you liked this, I really think you're gonna like this too. So there you go, some more awesome books that I hope you guys will check out. Lots of recommendations, lots of different vibes and genres, hopefully a little bit of something for everyone. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, tell me either how you make it a priority to incorporate diverse voices and experiences in your reading, or if it's not something that you do yet, but something you want to start doing, tell me your game plan for how you're going to do it. Are you going to make sure you read 1 book a month that is from someone with a different experience from as your own? Are you going to seek out books in genres you know you love? What are you going to do to try to make that more of a priority in your reading? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, it does help if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.